Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today I'm going to be characterizing 7 close states from 2016 and ranking them in order of the most hotly contested states in 2020. So you might not want to skip to the end because I'm not going to be doing them in a certain order. You're just going to see them how I rank them for either political party. Actually, I'll probably just use the independent column or other. It's called other now. But I think it was always called other. I just said that. But they will all be in this color. I guess the yellow color that certifies other. They will all be that same color. So they're not going to be in like 1 through 7. You'll just have to watch through the video to see which one is called first, then last. So I'm going to go from the 7th and lead up into the first race. So I'm going to start off by filling in all the states that weren't really swing states in 2016. Pretty much all these safe states for Trump and safe states for Clinton. Not much different than what we normally see on an electoral map, especially in recent history, since not much has changed. Speaking of changing elections, I think 1996 was the last time we saw the South go blue, which was pretty interesting. Also not good for Democrats considering they lost a big voting base that they had before, or it was just Bill Clinton was either lucky with Ross Perot or was able to appeal. Obviously, he probably would have won Arkansas regardless, but other states like Tennessee or Kentucky probably had an effect with Ross Perot running and taking away more from the Republicans than the Democrats. Maine's first district is considered, right now, I guess I'm going to characterize all of Maine in their own respective political party. And New Mexico isn't really a toss-up state at this point in time. Virginia, not so much. I think I filled in all the safe states considered safe, I guess. Virginia and New Mexico weren't necessarily safe states, and neither was Maine at large, but these are states that aren't going to be covered by this list, and a couple other ones aren't going to be covered either. So those other states are Ohio, Iowa, Arizona, and Georgia. And that leaves us with, actually, North Carolina won't be covered either, and that leaves us with a total of 8 states right now. I believe it should be covering only 7 states, so let me see where that other state is, and that is the state of Colorado. So that one goes to the Democrats, and then that gives them a total of 212 electoral votes and 231 for Trump. So 7 states, like I mentioned before. We'll start off with the first state. So I'm pretty sure most of you can figure it out based off the map that we have now. The state that probably went to a candidate by a larger amount than it was really expected to, and that is the state of Florida. The state of Florida went for Donald Trump by less than 2%, but still a considerable amount. He won more votes than Obama did in 2008. And 2012, obviously not combined. So did Hillary, but that was mainly because of turnout, and clearly Trump did much better. When turnout is up, usually the Democrats do better. This state went for Trump by considerable amounts, more than I expected, more than most people expected, considering many people actually expected this state to go in the column for the Democrats, for Hillary Clinton, but still Florida now is the 7th closest state, or 7th most likely state. 7th, I guess, I don't know how to characterize it. I guess 7th closest state out of the rest. So we have 6 states to still cover, and I'm pretty sure the next state that you know, this is a state that went for Hillary Clinton by a narrow margin. In this state, there was really a great possibility Donald Trump was going to win, and when it came down to it, Hillary Clinton was able to narrowly edge it out, but it was also a state that was previously a Democratic stronghold. So that is the state of Nevada. This is an area where even John King on his Magic Wall on CNN in 2012 only clarified this race because of history. Not mentioning Obama's approval rating in that race at all. Nevada was a Democratic state. Mitt Romney did not have a chance at winning that in 2012, and it really showed in the 2012 map, especially by the margin. So Nevada is the sixth closest state in 2020 based off now. Obviously, this map is going to fluctuate, especially with Trump's approval rating shifting almost every day. But right now, as it stands today, in the middle, actually the beginning of August 5th, 2018, it seems like we're looking at this map, and Nevada is the 6th closest state. So now we have another state. This is another state that was expected to be Clinton's stronghold, but was not. It came very close to voting for Donald Trump, and that is the state of Minnesota. The state hasn't gone Republican since 1972. The only state to do that has been the Democratic state the longest in terms of its streak since 1972. Obviously, in 1984, Ronald Reagan won every single state. Minnesota has remained, except for Ronald Reagan failed to carry the state of Minnesota, but he carried every other state. So this state has remained in the Democratic column for a long time, and the fact it did get close means that this state is definitely going to be a heavy target for the Trump campaign in 2020. So here's the next state. This is the state that is probably I guess you could say 4th closest state. That is the state of Pennsylvania. Right now, we can expect Pennsylvania to not be as close as other Rust Belt states, mainly because Donald Trump's approval rating is -5% here. So it's not as bad as in some other states like Michigan, Wisconsin, or New Hampshire. But right now, Pennsylvania is that state that I believe would be if Donald Trump was to win it, now would be the largest margin in 2020. Or if a Democrat was to win it, it would be a larger margin for the Democrats for a couple of reasons. But mainly this toss-up and closest state map is mainly for the Trump campaign and not for the Democrats because, again, I believe 3 of the states on this list were won by Democrats in 2016. They're probably going to want to focus on other states like Ohio, Iowa, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, a couple of other states that could get close in 2020. But right now, Pennsylvania I'm rating as the 4th closest state. Now the 3rd closest state, this one could become as a little bit surprising. Michigan is the 3rd closest state. So Wisconsin and New Hampshire, those are 2 states that were called at different times. New Hampshire was called very, very late, and Wisconsin was called very, very early by some news networks, such as Fox News, which called Wisconsin before 12 a.m. So right now, Michigan is actually the state that was called way after Wisconsin, but still, Michigan right now negatively approves of the president by only 8%. So Michigan right now, the 2nd highest approval rating for the president in the Rust Belt outside of Minnesota. The 3 Rust Belt states that did flip to the GOP by considerable amounts. So Michigan right now is the 3rd closest state in 2020 as of today, August 5th, 2018. So that's pretty interesting. And then the second one is, I'm pretty sure most of you know who it is based off the following trend with the Rust Belt states, but that is the state of Wisconsin. The state of Wisconsin was called for Donald Trump around 11:55 by some news networks, not necessarily Fox News. I believe Fox News called it a little bit earlier, but I found out about Wisconsin going red around, I believe, 2 a.m. on CNN. So that was very, very shocking to me. Wisconsin is one of those states that you wouldn't really expect to flip, especially since Clinton led by 6%. But right now, Donald Trump's approval rating is underwater. 13% more of Wisconsin voters disapprove of the president than approve of him. So it's the lowest here than in any of the 3 Rust Belt states. And that could be mainly because a number of issues there aren't really resonating with what Wisconsin voters want. We saw it in the Supreme Court election. We saw it in the Pennsylvania 18th District election. We saw it in a number of Michigan special elections. So when it comes down to it, these 3 Rust Belt states are easily the closest races that are going to happen, these closest states in 2020. Wisconsin just somehow is at the top, even though it was the largest margin in terms of percentage points for Trump in 2016. So very interesting how the map shifts from where it voted before. And the final state, the state of New Hampshire. Hillary Clinton won this state by 2,000 votes. Not a big margin at all. Even though it is a small state, that was still a very unexpected margin, considering that she was expected to win that state by a considerable amount. So New Hampshire right now obviously gets closer nearing the election season, but nobody expected a 2,000 victory vote win for the Clinton campaign, especially in the Senate race there. That one went to the Democrats by a very narrow margin in a Republican wave year. So New Hampshire didn't flip. Virginia didn't flip. Nevada, Colorado didn't flip. But Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania all flipped for Donald Trump. That was one of the more interesting things about that 2016 election night. But New Hampshire, the top of the ticket, I guess, the number 1 spot for the closest state expected in 2020 will likely be the state of New Hampshire, because regardless of who the nominee is, unless it's someone who's from the Northeast, New Hampshire will likely be one of the closest states. And keep in mind, I use a generic Democrat when I'm talking about just the Democrat versus Trump. I don't use Sanders, Biden, Warren, any type of those candidates. I just use the generic Democrat, who I guess you could stereotype as a couple of other Democrats who are considered new Democrats after the whole, party switch thing. But still, the final map, we have 95 contested electoral votes going down from the first closest state down to the 7th, New Hampshire, then Wisconsin, then Michigan, then Pennsylvania, then Minnesota, then Nevada, and we finish off in the state of Florida. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.